Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Right Side. Doug Billings with you. Ladies and gentlemen, today the evidence just continues to build for President Trump. The sinking ship of the Kamala Harris campaign. Wisconsin, internal polling in that state. Big problems for Harris and Walz. Michigan, Pennsylvania, trending Trump. Keep in mind, Kamala Harris needs to win all three of those blue wall states. Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Trump only needs to win one, and he's in the White House. The Electoral College pathway is becoming very clear. CNN themselves, 70% Trump chance of winning the Electoral College. CNN, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to dive in and take a good look at all of this. Hope abounds, ladies and gentlemen. The Right Side with Doug Billings is now upon you. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey, everybody. My name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to do a big shout-out for my great friend and one of the best in the business, Mr. Doug Billings. Right Side with Doug Billings, Right Side with Doug Billings. Doug is the future of the airwaves when it comes to independent broadcasters and podcasters. He is the new Rush Limbaugh. He's exactly what America needs right now, looking for honesty, looking for wisdom, looking for truth, looking for patriotism. Listen to Doug Billings at Right Side with Doug Billings. God bless you and God bless America, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are winning. We're winning. Welcome to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Are you ready?
We are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God. And his divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. And you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to The Right Side. Doug Billings here. Wow, what a week we have had. What a week we have had. Look, the thing is, we are, and we're not the J.D. Rucker show. He was on earlier, but we appreciate the bottom third. We will. I'll tell you what. We are having a great month, and we've had a great month in September. We've had trends that I'm going to tell you about. We will have more to tell you about in the future. J.D. Vance this week. J.D. Vance, you can't say enough about him. Introduced himself to millions of people. The sinking ship of the Harris-Walz campaign is becoming very obvious, very clear. You can see it. We've had great polling numbers. Now, I don't put a lot of stock in polls, but I'm going to talk about internal numbers and the difference between when a campaign takes a look at their own insides as opposed to what they do when they do the exit or the external polling and so forth. The internal polling is always much more accurate. So we've got J.D. Vance, who introduced himself to the country, to the world, and just knocked it out of the park. We've also had, tragically, Hurricane Helene, which has devastated parts of Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, as you all know. And the Kamala Harris administration, yes, ladies and gentlemen, she owns that administration now. I mean, Biden never really owned it anyway. Now, and I understand that Kamala Harris makes no decisions on her own. Of course she doesn't. The hierarchy does all of that. But we're pinning all of this. She's their candidate, so she owns it. Her, along with Alejandro Mayorkas, the absolute debacle of a Homeland Security advisor, have completely dropped the ball with regards to putting America and Americans first in the wake of Hurricane Helene and with any regard that they've been involved in. They never put Americans first. From the slow response, remember, it took Kamala Harris and Joe Biden 6 days before they made a public announcement about the devastation caused by this hurricane. 6 days. Now, we have issues from the mismanagement of funds from FEMA that have been used to provide millions of illegal immigrants with the necessities of life, which have now been used up, nothing left over. And Kamala goes down there, and it's just an embarrassment, to say the least. She goes down there and, says, well, we have $750 for you, right? Yeah. So we have this devastation. We have the tragedy on a human level that's very rarely ever been seen before in this republic. And so in one basket, there is that, the devastation of Helene and the response or lack thereof from the radical left movement in America. And then we also have earlier this week, as I mentioned, the J.D. Vance triumph in the vice presidential debate. J.D. Vance knocked it out of the park and introduced himself to millions of people who now are going, wow, I kind of dig this guy. I like him. And the camera loves him. Those baby blues, ladies, right? I know you like them. The baby blues. People loved him. And they do. And they can now, for all the people that were on the fence about Trump, by the way, there are people out there, the Never Trumper group, people within the Republican Party who are rhinos, and others who are genuinely undecided or independent voters who didn't like Trump's personality and so forth, the way he tweets and so forth. But like us, they don't like the radical left and their policies and the crisis and chaos that they start as a result of their policies, right? So you've got that group of people who just don't like Trump for his personality's sake, right? So what did Vance deliver to us? He delivered to us those people who were on the fence about Trump, because they're saying to themselves this week, I look around the country, I obviously agree that Biden and Harris and the entire radical left agenda are terrible for this republic. This is not what I signed up for. If there's somebody that voted for Biden and Harris, if they're independent or undecided, they're saying to themselves, yeah, I might not like Trump's personality, but this J.D. Vance guy, this fella, he is something else. He was polished, he was poised, he was polite, he was brilliant, he was knowledgeable. And I can probably put up with President Trump for 4 years if I know that this guy is going to be, the standard bearer and take the reins in 2028 and 2032. So we've got that whole new motivated group that are coming back over to our side because they can now tolerate what they see in Trump, what they didn't like before, because J.D. Vance has assuaged those fears. He's eased those concerns. So that's all great news. But both of the events, Hurricane Helene and the vice presidential debates, have moved the needle even further to our side. Multiple more millions of people now engaged and decided now to vote for the Trump-Vance ticket. And I've been telling you for 7 weeks, my friends, that the radical left liberal movement in this country, the hierarchy within that Democratic Party, are in a panic right now. I mean, it's DEFCON 1 over there. Or 5, whichever is the highest. Some of my Air Force friends, give me a call. 901-316-8404. Let me know which is worse, 1 or 5. But they're in panic. Absolute panic. This week, and I'm going to tell you why and how. Remember those internal polls that I mentioned just a moment ago at the top of the show? They've conducted some of these internal polls in various states. In one state in particular, Wisconsin, very interesting, very, very interesting. Their panic is over the top precisely because of what has happened in Wisconsin. For those of you who don't know, in case you're from Raytown, Missouri, let me update you. They have a Democrat, Tammy Baldwin, who won big in her last 2 elections, who is up right now currently only by 2 points. 2 points, basically tied, well within the margin of error, against her Republican challenger, Eric Hovde. Now, it's much closer than what the public polls have been showing us. And you've seen this, right? You've undoubtedly, if you're on social media at all, or if you watch the legacy news, you see these polls that shows Harris up by 4, 5, 6 or more points, right? They don't make it even appear to be close in these public polls. That's because they always oversample Democrats, and these polls, I'm telling you, are always riddled with response bias. But it's much closer when they do their internal numbers, and this is what's causing the panic. Because when they do it just amongst themselves, and they're not just going out to the public, they know that they're in big trouble. Multiple Democratic sources are telling us that there are alarm bells going off within the hierarchy of this radical left movement today, because Wisconsin is such a tight race, a statistical tie, which is unheard of, especially with Tammy Baldwin, who, like I said, won her previous elections in landslides, basically. So Republicans are also going to be outspending Democrats in Wisconsin by $20 million. It goes to my point that I've been making to you almost this entire election season, my friends. Polls and enthusiasm, okay, all manufactured and designed to favor Harris. They are under orders. The radical left, legacy media, the talking heads on social media, and so forth. They are under orders to drum up and manufacture fake enthusiasm for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. That's a matter of fact. It's not just my opinion about what's going on. They are told to be enthusiastic. Why? Because nobody likes Kamala Harris. You can't be organically excited about someone who you don't like. Nothing has changed since 2020 when she ran for president and got 0 votes in the primary and bailed out early. Nothing has changed. And you've all seen the montage of people in these clips that we show you where you see media, celebrity members, other politicians just slapping their face and thinking, why in the world did we choose Kamala Harris? So that enthusiasm that you see out there is all fake, and it's manufactured, and it's demanded by the radical liberal hierarchy. The public polls that you're seeing, Kamala Harris, President Trump, all of that, again, oversampling Democrats instead of Republicans. It's response bias. I've said this to you before. It's like you go to the blue-haired Democrat club in your county, and you ask the ladies in the blue-haired Democrat club, hey, who do you like for president? Do you like Harris or Trump? And of course, the blue-haired Democrat Ladies Guild is going to say, oh, we like Kamala Harris. We like Harris and Walz. Absolutely. Of course. So that's response bias. You get the response that you get because they're biased for that result already. So it's a real phenomenon. That's what, and they get these numbers. Oh, wow, look, hey, Kamala Harris, 80% of the blue-haired ladies club wants Harris. I mean, it's ridiculous, but that's what they put up because they think that if people see those numbers enough, it will embolden their base and disappoint and depress our side. It's not true. Don't be fooled. I'm here to tell you, my friends, that within the Republican Party, among all of the candidates on our side, and this is important, all of the candidates on our side who are running for re-election in the Senate, there is not one of them, not one, who is even remotely close to losing his or her bid for re-election. Unlike what's going on in Wisconsin with Tammy Baldwin, who has a very real chance of losing her election in the Senate. So the legacy media, of course, is not going to report this. They're not going to mention it. And it'll put forth other stories that are designed to make it appear as if the Republicans are in trouble. I mean, they'll do this with Ted Cruz all day long down in Texas. They're going to try to convince you that Colin Allred is going to beat Ted Cruz down in Texas. Not going to happen. But you'll see news stories like that in polling results that they use with response bias. Not going to happen. Don't be fooled, and don't be depressed. Don't be dissuaded. Don't give up. Don't just say it's over, it's done. Stay in the game, and we're going to see this thing through. There is hope all around us. I'm telling you, we are on the cusp of the greatest reawakening to what we really see as a victory than we've been in a long time around here. So it's a real panic they're experiencing over there. There's real drills going on now within this communist-socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, that they are losing incumbent seats throughout the chamber. And when we come back from this break, I'm going to tell you which seats of theirs are in trouble, and we can then begin to draw conclusions about what's going to happen in November and then beyond when Trump takes the White House. Great hope. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be right back right after this break. Stay with me. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepcid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHousebG.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the set of my show. Coming to you, as I always do, from smack dab in the middle of the fruited plain. And I want to talk to you about EMP, electromagnetic pulse. Now, these things can happen from the sun in nature and naturally, but they can also happen through man-made devices made by people who don't like us very much. And thanks to Kamala Harris, our failed border czar, we've got millions of people in this country who don't like us. Thank you very much, Kamala. Well, EMP Shield is a device like this one here that hooks up to your breaker box in your home, and it prevents your home and your electrical system from being fried in case of an electromagnetic pulse. There's a smaller version that you can put on the battery of your vehicle, so it is also protected. So head over to empshield.com, promo code Doug, ladies and gentlemen, empshield.com, promo code Doug. Believe it, for the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings. Doug Billings, driving the left crazy with the truth.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, where I take a great amount of pleasure in pointing out the intellectual immaturity of liberals every day with you, and you, of course, become the most intellectually mature audience in all of podcast land. Good to have you with me. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget also DougBillings.us. I ask you to please prayerfully consider heading over there to DougBillings.us and setting up a monthly recurring donation so that I can continue to bring you the program free of charge. Never charge you for this thing. DougBillings.us, right there on the screen. You can see it. And that's where you can, again, prayerfully consider. It's how I make a living. It's how I bring you the show. And I would appreciate it very much. DougBillings.us, just click on the donate tab and do what you can do over there so that we can continue. I'm in the midst of a new sponsorship drive, and it would be appreciated. I am a viewer-funded program, and so we are in this thing together. What is the truth worth to you specifically? This kind of truth is good news. We're looking around the country right now, and we're seeing the Democratic Party in a panic because of what's happening with regards to their numbers. We have Wisconsin, Tammy Baldwin up there in Wisconsin, losing where she was just knocking it out of the park the last couple of elections, and she's now in a statistical tie with her Republican challenger. We look across the Republic at all of the seats, the incumbent seats that are held currently by Democrats. There are several that are in real danger of being flipped to the Republican side. West Virginia, look, Joe Manchin saw this coming a long time ago. He got out, and it's very possible that we're going to win West Virginia, the Republican side, and we'll have that seat gained in the Senate. It's a great thing. Montana, another thing up there. We have a great race going on. We're leading in Montana, and I really think that we're going to flip that seat as well. Ohio, which is where, of course, J.D. Vance calls home. I really think we're solidly in control of that race right now. I don't see us falling behind and losing it. So we have Wisconsin that is in play, yet to be determined. It's a statistical tie right now. We have Montana and Ohio that are handedly in our favor in the Senate races. So it's looking good in those three states. That would, of course, give us +3 on the Republican side. And again, just to remind you, right before the break, I told you of all of our Republican incumbents who are up for re-election in the Senate, we have 0 who are in danger of losing their seats. 0. And so this is causing the panic within this communist-socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party. And now with Wisconsin there, even more so. Wisconsin, it's gone Republican before, but the Senate has been really a lockstep, especially with Tammy Baldwin these last several years, over a decade. So it's important for me to remind you about, when we go to vote. Back in 20 years ago or so, there was this phenomenon called split voting. You would go in and that's where maybe you like the Democrat candidate for president, or maybe not. Maybe you like the Republican candidate. So you vote for that candidate. Let's say we go into the polls and we're, John Doe in Wisconsin, he votes for the Democrat nominee for president. Well, a split vote is then when you would go Republican, or you would split the vote. So if he's voting for a Republican president, he votes for Democratic candidates downstream. Get it? So splitting the vote, it's not straight Republican. That's how they used to do it. It was very common up until about 2008 when George Bush was in office and running. Splitting your vote was very common. You may have not done it personally, but other people throughout the Republic did, and they did it often. It was very common. But you really don't see it anymore. For the last 20 years, people vote pretty much a straight ticket. So they go in and they vote straight Republican all the way down, or straight Democrat all the way down. So a split ticket is good for our side, but we don't. We look at what's going on in the country, knowing that people don't do that anymore, and we're thinking, because we might be tempted to think, well, if they're splitting the vote, that doesn't make me feel very comfortable. Because we need the House and we need the Senate. I don't want them just to vote for Trump and then vote for everybody else who's a Democrat. But here's where the good news comes in, because people are smart, as it turns out. Contrary to what the radical left liberal mob will tell you, Americans happen to have things pretty much figured out, and we always have. We look around and we see what I call evidence of the obvious. They see the chaos, they see the crisis, and they're not going to vote split ticket. They're not going to really, the majority of people are not going to vote Democrat, because they're sick and tired of what they've seen with regards to, for example, Hurricane Helene and the slow response, the wasted money from FEMA, giving more benefits and care to illegal immigrants than we do our own citizens. So you're going to see straight ticket voting, and you're going to see the majority of people vote Republican, even if they've been Democrat before. And it might just be that it's this election cycle. I'm not claiming at all that they've converted for life to the Republican side. I'm simply saying that this year, because it's been so bad during the previous 4 years, that these people are saying, this isn't what I signed up for. I'm going to go with Trump. I've always been a Democrat, or I've always been an independent. I'm undecided up until now. I'm going with Trump. And that's what's happening in record numbers. So I have a friend, his name, you've probably heard of him, Seth Keshel. Seth is a brilliant election and campaign strategist and analyst. He really points out, and I'm just going to use Wisconsin because I've mentioned it already, that the Senate race really boils down to this with regards to numbers and then what we can assume about this race as it pertains to the presidential race. All right. So again, as I said, Tammy Baldwin, she's the Democrat running for Senate. She's already in office. She's running for re-election in Wisconsin. In 2012, she broke on the scene and ran at 1.3% behind Barack Obama. All right. That was 2012. In 2018, she won her race in Wisconsin by 10%. It's significant. That's a significant victory. She, right now, as the incumbent senator from Wisconsin, is in an absolute brawl, a dogfight with her Republican opponent, Eric Hovde. Now, if that's going on in Wisconsin, ladies and gentlemen, that kind of race where it's so close, you can better believe that President Trump is beating the heck out of Kamala Harris in Wisconsin. Rest assured. Historically, we have data to look back on. That's what happens when people are that close and that decided about a Republican candidate, especially against an incumbent who in her previous election won by 10%, which is huge. And if they're basically tied now, you better assume that Trump is clobbering Kamala Harris in the state of Wisconsin. And if he wins Wisconsin, ladies and gentlemen, listen. If President Trump wins Wisconsin, he's in the White House. He's in. Game over. Tammy Baldwin won both of her previous elections in landslides. Now she's in a dogfight of her life. It's good news. It's good news for all of us on the right side. And because of that, we can be relatively certain that Kamala Harris, her campaign, not only in Wisconsin, but across the Republic, is sinking. And I've spoken about this in previous shows, not only this week, but throughout the last couple of months. A sinking ship. And the reason for that in reality is, again, it's all about the politics, the platform, and the policies that are put forth by this radical left, commune socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party. Everything they put forth causes chaos, which brings, of course, crisis along with it. Purposefully done, by the way. This is not accidental. And they know full well that they risk losing votes if they do that. They know they are many things: immoral, evil, anti-American, but they're not stupid. They know that this strategy to inflict chaos and crisis on us is risky, because people might wake up and say, this isn't what I signed up for. Joe, I voted for you last time. Kamala's running now, but this isn't what I signed up for. I'm going to go to Trump because my country's burning down here. I can't put food on my table. This is what average Americans are thinking and how they're reacting. A mass exodus, my friends. There is a mass exodus of support from that Democratic Party, from the American people. Not putting us first? Really? $1 trillion to Ukraine? $560 billion to Taiwan just last week? And you're giving our own people who are devastated by Helene $750? Really? No. Trump. That's what they're doing. That's their thinking. The policies that they put forth purposefully create chaos and crisis, and they want it. They want it. And the radical left will say, I'm absolutely nuts. This goes for gun violence. It goes for food on the table, energy independence, clearly the border. The more chaos and crisis they create, they believe the faster they can fundamentally transform America. Remember that? Obama said it first. There's no faster way to fundamentally transform America than by causing chaos and crisis, because when people are in chaos and crisis, they tend to think that big government is their way out or their escape hatch. Not true. So the radical left liberal movement in America, their hierarchy really has taken a gamble here, really. They could have very much been, taken a moderate approach with their policies, their platform, their politics. They didn't have to insert Kamala, although they were trapped, to be honest. And to be fair to them, they couldn't have gotten rid of Kamala. She's a DEI hire, for crying out loud. That's one of the pillars of their party. Diversity, equity, inclusion. We can't get rid of her now. We're painted into a corner. So we're going to manufacture fake enthusiasm. You see, this is what they're doing. But they have now been called out by the American people. They're losing the gamble. Their desire to transform America so quickly got the best of them. And they opted, instead of, appeasing and taking care of Americans and getting votes, they opted to fundamentally transform America away from the divine providence of God, away from the intent of the founders, and away from the best interests of Americans. And so Americans are now saying no more. And they're going towards Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, hey, speaking of Biden and Harris and the catastrophes that they have caused, Bidenomics, Harrisomics, gold. Gold is your answer. Stay tuned. I have a guest, Paul Cox. He's coming up. Freedom Gold USA, ladies and gentlemen, is the way to go. I urge you to listen to this interview. It's going to be amazing, and it's going to be, informative. What you need, what we all need, is information on how to survive this economy and protect your wealth. Stay with me. A very important interview coming right up after the break. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Is the government tracking you? Do they have access to all your data? Well, if you go to worldviewtalk.com, you'll find out about a cell phone company that, does not store your data. They don't do that. This is what they're known for. They don't store your data. You have privacy. You're not being tracked. That's why a lot of folks are turning to worldviewtalk.com. You'll find their prices are very competitive. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com. Again, worldviewtalk.com. Oh, while you're there, not only do they have cell phones that aren't tracking you, you can find out about how to get a satellite phone. Should the whole system go down and you want to communicate with a family member or a loved one, you might want to have a satellite phone. Or how about their solar generators? They have great solar generators. Check them all out right now. worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the set of my show, The Right Side. Hey, want to tell you about beef. Doug's Beef, DougsBeef.com. This is not your ordinary beef. This is prepper beef. If you want to have a supply of protein on hand, I'm talking ribeye, strip steaks, Kansas City and New York strip, and T-bones as well. Doug's Beef, ladies and gentlemen, check it out. Comes to you in freeze-dried packets, shelf life of 25 years. And when you cook this stuff up, I'm telling you, I wouldn't sell it if it wasn't delicious. Awesome stuff. DougsBeef.com. Head over there, take a look at all of the inventory, and stock your shelves with protein, with good tasting stuff. DougsBeef.com, ladies and gentlemen. Check it out. There's the beef. Believe it. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Doug Billings, driving the left crazy with the truth.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. The Right Side with Doug Billings, coming to you from smack dab in the middle of the fruited plain. Great to be with you as always, talking about the hope that surrounds us, ladies and gentlemen, in this country in this election season. Look, everything that I tell you, based in fact and in reality, it's hopeful. It does not mean that we should become complacent at all. We still engage in what really that I call determined patriotism, right? The hard work of it all. And along with, recovering our republic from the grip of the radical liberal movement that has taken it over momentarily, we also have to worry about our money and our wealth and protecting it with common sense and with knowledge specifically. And I would like to introduce to you my guest today, Paul Cox with Freedom Gold USA. Paul, welcome to the program. Glad to have you here with us.
You too, Doug.
Paul, as we look, at the landscape of what's happened over the last 4 years in this country with regards to people, the economy, and so forth, and how do we protect ourselves and our money? I mean, let's be honest. Everybody and their brother is talking about gold and silver and so forth and so on. As an expert in the field, as you look out over the landscape of America, what advice do you have for people? Because there are people out there who are genuinely frightened. They're seeing, I understand that the stock market's up, but they can't put food on the table. They don't know what's happening. It's so volatile. It seems like there's so much chaos and crisis. The economy, I'm not buying it. I don't think it's been a great economy, and it's we may be in for some turbulent times. So I'm just interested to hear your professional take on what you tell people. What do you tell people?
Yeah, well, first of all, what we don't tell people it's either this or that. Like you're either in stocks or gold. It's that we don't do. We believe it's both, and you said, maybe we're in times of trouble. We are in times of trouble. I did a little research over the past couple of days, and right now we have U.S. households income has fallen 9.1% since April 2020. Credit card debt has surpassed $1 trillion for the first time in history. The average rate on that credit card debt is over 20%. And this is according to Bankrate.com. Credit card delinquency, it's its highest ever. And we haven't actually, at least the last decade for sure. According to Bank of America, the number of Americans that are doing emergency withdrawals from their 401k programs is at an all-time high. You got, elevated mortgage rates, lack of inventory, 20% higher home prices since a year ago. 69% of all consumers that live in urban areas are currently living paycheck to paycheck. The first time in history, the average rent to income ratio it's over 30%. We're in trouble. 3/4 of the banking industry have been put on notice by Standard & Poor's and Moody's because they're about to get, they are laden with these $1.5 trillion of commercial property collateralized debt obligations, these mortgage-backed securities, commercial property. It's identical to what happened in 2008, though it's the commercial property market that's going belly up. These are notes that the Federal Reserve has been kicking down the road. They're 5, 7, 10-year notes they're due right now. And they've been, getting a little leash, this little, a little push of time because, and I believe personally, look, what do I know? But I believe it's a way of propping up the markets. Because if they were to settle in this high interest rate environment, three-quarters of the bank, I mean, ostensibly three-quarters of the banking industry would go under. So in order to give the current administration at least a fighting chance in November, they're being given this leash. But sooner or later, they're going to have to settle. And when they do, it's going to be a nightmare because the rates are not coming down substantially. That these notes that are coming due now, these mortgage-backed securities in the commercial market, there's no way to refinance them in anything that would resemble what the banks can handle. So we're in trouble. And look at the CPI. The CPI is, the kind of, it says it. It says that since the loss of purchasing power since 2020 is over, it's 20.9%. So I don't know.
So this means that if the banks are in trouble, our money's in trouble. I mean, and why? I think people are just maybe it's because they're yes, obviously I think they're uninformed about it. They don't know the details about it, but this is not difficult. If we want to protect a portion of your investment in gold and silver, this is not a difficult thing to do.
Right.
And you have information for them, Paul. We can get them information at the website there on the screen, freedomgoldusa.com/Doug. And it's not a hard sell. We're trying to just arm people. Look, my audience, they know people that watch this program understand we have each other's back, and we are sharing information and trying to help arm them with decent information. This is what you do for a living.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, look, gold and silver, they act as a hedge during these kind of, geoeconomic, cycles, if you will. And I mean, look, the best way to look at it is this. Years ago, gold used to follow crude oil. And it was easy to kind of gauge how gold was moving by the undulations of the crude market. And now it's entirely the loss of purchasing power, or the dollar. It's a dollar play now. So I tell people, take advantage of these cycles when they happen. Look, do I believe that the world's going to end? No, because I have a lot of faith in this country. But as I saw in 2008, very, very, it was a rough time, and I saw a lot of people have their lives just affected negatively. But if they had, the ones that thought ahead and protected themselves with, a percentage of their holdings in physical gold or physical silver, they would have offset an incredible amount of the damage that was done. For instance, 2004, if you had $1,000 and you factor $1,000 into the United States government's Bureau of Statistics inflation calculator, it says that presently in 2024, you need $1,650. That's a loss of 65% of your purchasing power. Okay, go back to 2004. You have $1,000. Gold was $300 an ounce. You peel off $300, you buy an ounce of gold, you put it in safety deposit box or somewhere safe. Okay, you have $700 left over. Factor that into the calculator, the inflation calculator. You need $1,100 for that. Today, what $700 would have bought. But you have a gold coin that is worth $2,650 today. It not only protected your purchasing power, but it did that and some and more. So these are cycles. People think, well, it's not going to grow that much this time. No, it will, because of all the printing that has gone on since 2008. All the TARP, TALF, Operation Twist, QE1, 2, and 3, all that bond buying, purchase, dropping cash into printing that began in 2008. It's only metastasizing right now. We have yet to even feel the damage that was done since 2020 with COVID, printing. Mm-hmm. So it is reasonable to presume that this market is going to keep on moving, because gold, what it does, silver, what it does, it follows that glut of the dollars in the world market. It has to. That's what it's done historically for 200 years. The more bills out there, the more dollars, the more gold has got to rise to evaluate it. And, look at Jim Rickards. Jim Rickards, he's a well-respected economist, PhD, former CIA operative. He was more of an analyst for them. He even says, if you today evaluated, the gold in the world market with all the dollars, gold would be 12,000 plus an ounce. So we tell people, look, peel off what you can, what you have the ability to work with.
Yep.
We won't put all your money. We never let anybody put all their money in it.
Yeah, I think that's the secret too. People, I think there's a myth out there amongst some people who think, well, I've got to be ultra wealthy in order to do this, and so Paul, we have about a minute and a half or so left.
Sure.
In the closing time here, explain to them why they don't need. We're not talking about people that are ultra wealthy. This is John and Jane Doe on the streets can do this.
Right. Yeah. A lot of companies out there, they'll have, $10,000 minimums, and, the minute you get on the phone, you say, well, I really don't have that much. And they're hanging up on you. We don't do that. I mean, we'll help people with as little as $500. We'll help people. We're a company. We're not in, this is not, there are companies out there that are pushing for collectible coins, all this high value stuff. No, we put bullion in your hands. This is a tool that everybody should have, that they can weaponize their own financial acumen, and protect themselves. It's like an insurance.
Paul, thank you. I appreciate that. That's calming and reassuring. And we just showed the website on the screen. We've got it up there throughout the conversation we've had here together. Look, I'd like to have you back on the show from time to time and just give us an update on things that you're noticing, trends or whatever within the market, within the economy, and we'll talk like this. We'll just talk off the cuff about how we can help people and give them good, solid advice. This has been great. I appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks so much, Doug. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, stay with me. I'll be right back with some closing thoughts right after this break. Cheers.
in uncertain times. In fact, we live at a time when our own governments all over the world are warning us that there could be big problems with our power grid. World War III seems to be right on the horizon. Let me ask you this. Do you have a satellite phone? Should communications go down with cell towers? Do you have a satellite phone to get a hold of that college student or your spouse who travels, whatever it might be, to get a hold of your senior adult parents? We have satellite phones at worldviewtalk.com, and you get the satellite phone for free when you sign up for their very reasonable payment programs for the service. Sign up for the service with a reasonable contract, get the satellite phone for free. Worldviewtalk.com. You'll also find they have, well, what I now have, which is a solar generator. Yeah, I have a gas generator, an LP propane generator, but what if that goes down? I want to back up to my backup. So I now have a solar generator as well. You'll find them at worldviewtalk.com. Check it out today, worldviewtalk.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the set of my show, coming to you, as I always do, from smack dab in the middle of the fruited plain. And I want to talk to you about EMP, electromagnetic pulse. Now, these things can happen from the sun in nature and naturally, but they can also happen through man-made devices made by people who don't like us very much. And thanks to Kamala Harris, our failed border czar, we've got millions of people in this country who don't like us. Thank you very much, Kamala. Well, EMP Shield is a device like this one here that hooks up to your breaker box in your home, and it prevents your home and your electrical system from being fried in case of an electromagnetic pulse. There's a smaller version that you can put on the battery of your vehicle, so it is also protected. So head over to empshield.com, promo code Doug, ladies and gentlemen, empshield.com, promo code Doug. Believe it, for the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Doug Billings, driving the left crazy with the truth.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Right Side with Doug Billings. A few moments here with you for some closing thoughts about today. I want to reiterate what I said at the beginning of the program, but also just thank Paul Cox, who just came on the show and gave us some good, solid information about how you can help yourself become protected against the environment that we're in. Our marketplace is really unstable. And again, freedomgoldusa.com, freedomgoldusa.com/Doug. Head over there, get it's not a hard sell. Arm yourself with information. I encourage you, please. Look, I know you all have been so good to me over these last 4 years. You've been there for me. You go to my website, you contribute, and you help me continue to bring the program. This is the least I can do for you. freedomgoldusa.com/Doug. There's a look at it. All of the things that you can get and receive. It's been everywhere on all of the major platforms. It's a solid company. You don't need to be wealthy to do this, folks. Please don't let that keep you from getting the information that you need. We can, over at freedomgoldusa.com/Doug, take care of you and help you save and protect your money. All right. So a lot of hope around us. I started the program talking to you about why there's panic in the radical left party, the hierarchy of the Democrat Party. Believe it. Trump is trending high and wide. And despite what you see on the media, again, I'm telling you, folks, we are in an excellent position. CNN even had a poll that came out just yesterday that projects Trump has a 70% chance of winning the Electoral College. CNN. I know the radical left liberal, when they see polls like that one, it only makes them want to get rid of the Electoral College even more, right? But that's what they want. They want to fundamentally transform America away from the divine providence of God and the intent of the founding fathers. And the Electoral College is one of their most brilliant creations, how we fairly elect people, that every county of this nation has a voice in our elections. So we have the debacle and the travesty, the tragedy of what Helene has been, the lack of response, the catastrophic failure of any kind of response that's meaningful from the radical left movement, the people who are in charge currently in this country. We have the great performance of J.D. Vance and the way that he has brought people over. And we see states throughout the republic, because of, again, the policies, the platform, and the politics of the radical left, the chaos and the crisis that they cause, people are coming over to our side. And it's represented perfectly when you look at three people who have been in the news lately. When you look at Elon Musk, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and Tulsi Gabbard. Those three people represent 20 million new votes for President Trump. Radical left liberal mobs and their people, Kamala Harris and that whole group, they'll parade Bruce Springsteen and Taylor Swift and, Mark Hamill and Stephen King, Barbara Streisand, you name it. Whatever. All of those celebrities bring a net zero gain of new voters. There's not one voter over there that's going, oh, yeah, I voted for Trump. I guess since Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala, I'm going to vote for her now. No, anybody in that camp was already going to vote for Harris anyway. So again, a net zero of new voters. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, bringing the people who followed them over to Trump. Now, that's significant, and that's real, and that's a net gain of 20 million votes for Trump right off the top. We have hope everywhere around us. You have a pack of blessings on your back. And look, to those of you who are affected by Helene, our prayers are with you, absolutely so. I'm reminded of how conservatives approach these things. We view tragedy, adversity, and challenge as blessings waiting to be born. And there have been deaths, and there have been people stranded and killed. This is horrific. I'm telling you, though, ladies and gentlemen, in the midst of all of that, there are blessings waiting to be born. And it may take some time, it will take some time to be able to see those blessings come true. I promise you that's the truth. We are a blessed nation. We are one nation under God. We are strong. We, the people, thank you very much, make the decisions as to whether or not and how much and how by America will be fundamentally transformed. It doesn't. We are fine. We are inspired by God, our founding documents inspired by God and written by men. America does not need to be fundamentally transformed, and to say such a thing is a self-identifier for a non-American, non-patriot. You cannot be an American patriot and believe that America, needs to be fundamentally transformed. Stay strong, stay locked in prayer, stay locked in your communities, work with one another. Because remember, what you see, the lack of response from the left is a way by which they attempt to try to deconstruct communities. Because remember, you cannot be dependent upon one another if I'm from the radical left. No. The state will take care of you. Big government will take care of you. So that's why they do this. My friends, look, that's why they are slow to respond. That's why they don't respond. That's why they put forth policies that create crisis and chaos in the first place, to try to drive us apart, to destroy the basic traditional American family, to destroy our faith in God, to destroy our communities in which we live. They won't let privately owned helicopter operators drive in or fly in to these areas to try to deliver goods and services or to rescue people. They won't let privately owned drones fly over the properties and the devastation to see where rescue efforts need to focus. Can you imagine this? This radical left hierarchy who is in control of our government does not like you. They are anti-American. I'm sorry, but evidence of the obvious is sufficient. We, however, will not yield to that. We will not yield. We will meet, as we always do, in determined patriotism and in determined prayer. And through those efforts, that's where we will begin to see the blessings that are sown within these events be born. You've got to give yourself permission to believe that, ladies and gentlemen. Please also head over to DougBillings.us. Please, DougBillings.us. It's where I ask that you prayerfully consider setting up a monthly reoccurring donation. I'm in a sponsorship drive over there. I'm viewer funded. I am completely dependent upon what you can provide over there. I give you the show for free. So it's an exchange. What is the truth worth? What is this commentary? What is the analysis of the state of play in America worth to you? I know you are with me, and I'm with you. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. Believe it. I'll see you next time right here for the Republic. Cheers.